This is Leeds Trinity University.
Welcome to the Yorkshire Voice podcast with me, Rowan, and I'm joined by...
I'm Theo.
And Tanita.
And we'll start off with quite a fun story today. An Ilkley man, Jeff Howard, is preparing for this weekend's London Marathon at the age of 80. He last ran the London Marathon around 40 years ago, but support from his family means he won't hang up his running shoes yet. Jeff will be one of the oldest runners this weekend and is taking on the feat to raise money for his town's inclusive community cafe outside the box. Good luck to Jeff. I mean, I can't run a marathon right now, so I couldn't imagine doing it at 80 years old. There is a meeting that's took place for Bradford residents and businesses about ongoing changes to the city centre. Phase 2 of the Future Bradford project has now started construction. First announced in 2020, Hall Ings and Market Street have been permanently closed to become pedestrian areas. Mark McEwen went along to speak to people who attended and to get a feel for the mood amongst locals.
I am here outside the Light Cinema in Bradford City Centre, where this morning the Light hosted representatives of Bradford City Council, the developer Balfour Beatty, the Chamber of Commerce and Bradford Bid, as well as business owners and, of course, the residents of Market Street and Bank Street, which began pedestrianisation yesterday morning. Residents attending were concerned about the short and long-term implications of the development. Julie Monks was particularly concerned with the allocation of downtown spaces.
I'm positive about them because obviously it'd be lovely for the city, as long as when we do pedestrianise, which would be good, and that it'll make it a little more relaxed, is if people do something with the spaces, like businesses open up, or the businesses that are here are able to open up and use the space outside for so that's more like a cafe culture in Bradford, and that will obviously, with 2025 coming, should hopefully encourage people to spend more quality time in the city.
The representative for Bradford Chamber of Commerce, Will Evans-Jones, was very positive about the changes and the atmosphere of the meeting itself.
I think there's no getting away from the fact that over the next kind of 6 to 9 months, it'll look kind of pretty, not bleak, but there'll be quite a lot of disruption. However, the end goal is going to be vital, and it kind of links into the cultural sectors that's been going on within the region. It's going to offer a lot of green space. It's got a lot of attractability, and from a business point of view, because I work for the Chamber of Commerce, it's going to impact or hopefully impact inward investment coming to the region, and investment that is so desperately needed to kind of mirror the aspirations and the aims of the city centre currently.
Could you describe the mood in the meeting?
So the mood in the room was positive and informative, possibly a slight bit of hesitation in that, because it's all going to be so new and so exciting. But there are city centres across the country, Nottingham, Liverpool, Manchester, Glasgow, that have all experienced this. And again, it is only good for kind of inward investment in the next kind of 6 to 9 months and further.
I mean, would you describe this as growing pains? It's got a very broad...
Yeah, I think
simplistic.
I'll put it kind of almost arguably a little bit sillier. Since working in Bradford, I've always felt that Bradford just needs a massive big hug, and this comes under the umbrella of that big hug. And when that is finished, I think the whole city centre and wider region will look far prettier.
Nicholas Jones, Community Relations Officer for Balfour Beatty, declined to comment on the meeting when asked, but Johnny Noble, Chief Executive of Bradford Bid, which represents businesses in the city, emphasised that it was still very early in the development and lines of communication should remain open.
I think the main thing to take away from it is we need to keep communication lines open, so the businesses and the residents. Obviously, I'm representing the businesses in the city centre, but the residents are as important to us as the businesses. So lines of communication are really, really important, and we need to make sure those lines of communication are really clear from the contractor through to the council and the bid, obviously, from our member business point of view. But yeah, it went fine. There were some challenging questions asked. There's a lot of nervousness, there's no denying that. I've just literally walked the whole route again this morning, and there is some, should we say, early confusion, but, things will settle down. I've just liaised with 2 or 3 of our kind of vocal member businesses who were nervous, particularly around deliveries. But the message that came out earlier is talk to the contractors, talk to the people on the ground, and they will do everything they can to accommodate things like deliveries while construction's going on.
So in general, it was quite a calm and positive meeting.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I've been to many consultation meetings with members of the public and businesses, and that was probably one of the calmer ones. I think the excitement and the vision is there for all to see, and the end result is there for all to see. So that probably tempered some tempers, but as deliveries are refused, or if there's an issue with somebody getting through, that's where we'll probably see people getting a little bit more excited.
Roger, I mean, with the businesses in particular, so far, talking to them, they've felt a real downturn. How did you try and allay some of those fears?
Yeah, I mean, they're talking about a downturn. I mean, the scheme only went on yesterday, so they've had one day really to see how it works. Plus, yesterday's weather was absolutely horrendous. So footfall, and I do look at the weather and I look at the footfall on probably an hourly basis, and it was down. There's no denying it. The weather will have had a part to play. People need to get used to it. It's going to happen. You know, we just need to work together as a collective to make sure it happens. We did do a piece last week for the bid member businesses about the city centre being open for business. We're looking at doing some reels where we actually walk through the city centre and show people how to get around the place. And we're talking to the comms team that are working with the council on that at the moment. So, you know, early teething problems, everyone expected it. It's how we work together and we communicate clearly to alleviate as many problems as possible early doors.
Thank you so much.
All right, Matt.
We shall be continuing to follow this story very closely. For Leeds Trinity News Team at BCB, I'm Mark McEwen.
Very good there from Mark. Yesterday, parents of 4-year-olds found out which school their children will be attending in September. Bradford Council have said they were able to offer 99% of children one of their 3 top choices of primary schools. Over 6,000 applications were received across the city. 94% were offered their top choice. Today in Parliament, in the Home Affairs Committee, are following up on their inquiry into violence and abuse towards retailers. It's found a shocking rise in attacks since 2016. Our reporter Jane Gregory was in Bradford City Centre yesterday talking to shopkeepers about whether this is an issue that affects them.
I'm down on Kirkgate in the centre of Bradford, outside Yours clothing shop, where earlier today I spoke to the general manager, who had quite a lot to say about experiences of violence and abuse here in the centre of Bradford.
We've actually noticed it firsthand, obviously working on Bradford Kirkgate itself. I have actually had one of my staff assaulted from a shoplifter who has been quite frequently coming in. I dragged her out with her lanyard and again got in a bit of a tussle outside. He'd pushed her into the window. She was okay, but obviously adrenaline, she'd passed out and he made off with 2 items. He was caught, he was put into prison, it was reported, but we face this every day. Even as I'm speaking to you now, I've got a group of people stood right outside my store who are not shoplifters, but are actually dealers. Sometimes there's at least 30, 40 of them out there. It's quite menacing. I have elderly customers that come in. I have customers that come in with children that do not want to walk past them. It's getting quite frightening. I've got obviously staff that's been followed to when we've been to the bank. A lady further down, a couple of shops down, constantly gets followed to the bank. It is getting worse. And over the last couple of years, it's got horrendous. It's really, really bad.
I've walked up Bank Street and along Kirkgate, talking to a lot of the shopkeepers about their experiences.
Not just only in Bradford, is everywhere. Even on the front shop there's many people is antisocial all time.
And do you feel that violence and threats of violence are an issue?
Is not much, but I think is more and more is happening as time is passing. Before, like 5 years before, it was not much, but now it's more.
Real issue is the drugs. That's the real issue, because when you have drugs and you're alcoholic and you drink so much, you're gonna forget about everything.
Like if they're homeless, we'd have spare duvets and stuff like that. So they never tend to come and shoplift from us because they don't want to mess on their own doorstep. So
that's really understandable, isn't it?
Yeah.
So when they're talking about violence against shopkeepers tomorrow in Parliament, I think you're telling me that you don't really have an issue really with aggression and violence.
No, we don't, because they tend to look after us down here. Don't get me wrong, it does happen and I've heard about it, but as a rule in this shop, no, we don't get it.
Having walked along Kirkgate, I've turned down Ivegate And there I talked to Assad in Connecting You, one of several phone shops.
We do get a lot of threatening behaviour here.
And have you
And,
personally been?
Oh yeah, quite a few times.
Can you tell me about an experience?
I mean, for example, if someone's bought a phone from us, they don't like it for some reason, they've damaged it, they come in, with the full families, threatening behaviour, It's even got to a stage where, they started, I think a few times, my workers have been actually physically abused. And the only thing is, the police does come. It takes a bit of time, but they do actually, when they do turn up, give them all the information, give them evidence, but nothing seems to be done.
This is Jane Gregory reporting from Bradford City Centre for the Leeds Trinity News team with BCB Radio.
The House of Commons voted by majority to pass the smoking ban yesterday. The legislation bans any future generations born in and after 2009 from smoking. Despite the bill being passed, Rishi Sunak suffered a lack of support from his party after over 50 Tory MPs voted against the policy. So, Tanita, what exactly does this mean?
So a lot of people feel this underlines the division within the Conservative Party at the moment. Now, there was the main concerns of those who voted against the legislation was that it meant people born a day apart will have different rights, which can be quite problematic. It's also a slippery slope that could lead to further bans on things like alcohol and could encourage illegal trade. So there's big concerns about what the effects of this ban could mean for people banned from smoking.
Yeah, I think it's tough to find. It's obviously there's a good reason for it, but I think you're trying to make it safer, but by trying to make it safer, you can make it worse. Do you know what I mean? But I mean, that'll be in the podcast in the next coming weeks. There's more and more details coming out about that. In sort of our final news, it's World Bat Day, so I'm going to go to our bat expert, Theo.
Yeah, so thank you. So I thought I could do a little quiz between you two, some true or false questions about bats, basically. So the first one, there is 1,400 species of bats. Is that true or false?
I'll let you go first.
I'm going to go with true.
Right. No, I was thinking true, but I only know like 5 types of bats, so I'll go false.
False. It's actually true, and it's not just the species. They range from a size of something that weighs less than a penny, nicknamed the bumblebee bat, to up to a flying fox. Have you heard of those? The flying foxes in the jungles?
Are those one that like people throw and they come back?
No. That's a boomerang. But yeah. So yeah, it's like a flying fox that lives in the jungle, but it's not really a fox. It's a bat species of bat. Okay. Moving on to the second question. All bats hibernate. Is that true or is that false?
You can go.
Thank you. They sleep a lot, so I'll go false because I feel like they don't need to recoup all that energy.
Yeah, I'm going to go false too.
You'd both be correct. Although most bats do hibernate, however, but there's a few bats like the spotted bat that choose to migrate to warmer conditions, a bit like me in the summer.
They're the smart kind of bats.
Yeah, they're the ones that want the tan. That's them. And then the final true or false, the oldest bat is 29 years old.
I'll let you go first, so I can just go the opposite.
Yeah, I have no idea, so I'm just going to guess false.
I'll take true.
It's Tanita that wins this then.
No.
The oldest bat actually reached 41 years old, which is very, very old for a bat because most don't reach 20.
Wow.
But yeah,
that is genuinely impressive.
It is. I thought so.
Impressive.
I thought so. Yeah. I thought 29 is old.
Yeah, 40 for a bat is like, I don't know, he's like 8, it's like dog years. You've got dog years, human years, and bat years. Well, thank you for that, Theo.
No worries. Thank you for having me on.
I can now show off my bat facts.
Yeah, and
everyone
go love some bats today.
That's been the Yorkshire Voice podcast on the 17th of April. Join us tomorrow, Friday, and everywhere else.
This is Leeds Trinity University.